It's 1876. America dispatches its favorite hero, George Custer, to quash Sitting Bull's defiance in Montana. Yet when the general crests a ridge, he spies far more lodges than anticipated. Custer doesn't hesitate, though. He grins, lifts his hat, and shouts, "Hurrah, boys! We've got them!" Unbeknownst to him, he advances towards one of the biggest Native American war encampments ever gathered, and relief forces won't arrive to rescue him. Merely 60 minutes later, every single soldier under his command lies slain. Custer's legacy transforms into a symbol not of triumph, but of among the greatest disasters in U.S. military annals. Yet how did events unravel so disastrously? This is the astounding tale of Custer's final battle. George Custer sprang from farming roots in Ohio. He possessed extraordinary drive. He yearned for glory and a permanent spot in historical records. As a youth, he proved quick-witted, daring, and self-assured. He enrolled at West Point in 1857, accumulating 726 demerits for misconduct, more than any prior cadet. Still, his teachers and peers couldn't ignore that the delinquent possessed the makings of an exceptional warrior. The Civil War erupted, granting Custer the opportunity to demonstrate precisely that. Custer excelled as a commander, securing numerous triumphs during the conflict, perpetually spearheading his troops personally. He became famed for plunging into situations others feared to enter. He'd never order a soldier to attempt something he wouldn't do himself. His men revered him, and his commanders held such high regard that by age 23, he ranked among the youngest generals in American history. Newspapers nicknamed him the Boy General. Swiftly, the public knew a valiant General Custer, with his showy demeanor and legendary flowing blonde locks. On July 3, 1863, Custer's unit defended the Union position at Gettysburg. Leading from the front in full regalia, Custer stormed Confederate lines at a pivotal instant, turning the battle's tide for the Union. His distinguished duty persisted right until the war's concluding day. The table where Robert E. Lee inked his surrender, later presented to Custer's spouse, bore an inscription noting, "No individual contributed more to securing this capitulation than your spouse." Post-war, Custer received command of the 7th Cavalry to manage the Plains Indians. He despised the post, believing it robbed him of glory's prospects. Not until 1868 did he find another opening to grasp the renown he so coveted. In its ceaseless push westward, the United States had focused its intentions on the Black Hills. The resident Sioux remained unwilling to surrender them. In April 1868, the Sioux and the U.S. inked the Fort Laramie Treaty. It granted the Sioux complete ownership of the Black Hills, conditional on halting settler raids and remaining confined to a reservation. Yet America never planned to uphold the agreement. The Black Hills held immense worth, and authorities anticipated settler influxes would soon incite Sioux treaty breaches. Oblivious to this duplicity, most Sioux consented. Sitting Bull, however, dissented. He was Lakota, one of the Sioux's 2 major branches, and he rejected the accord. Sitting Bull felt America would inevitably encroach on their territories regardless, viewing armed opposition as the sole means to safeguard their culture. Sitting Bull contrasted sharply with Custer. While Custer was audacious and rash, Sitting Bull remained composed and deliberate. His name reflected his practice of deliberation before action. Yet he served not only as a war chief, but also a holy man. He professed visions from the Great Spirit, guiding him to overcome the Americans. He united numerous Lakota adherents, along with contingents from neighboring Cheyenne bands. Sitting Bull forged an alliance of mobile warriors to combat American intrusion. Collaborating closely with his confidant and lieutenant, another Lakota named Crazy Horse, they executed assaults on American outposts and rival tribes such as the Crow and Arikara. Sitting Bull's coalition commenced raids on U.S. communities soon after Fort Laramie. America required a courageous, skilled commander to halt Sitting Bull. They required George Custer. Custer departed with the 7th Cavalry in October 1868. Winter approached, their period of greatest exposure. Advancing along the Washita River in Oklahoma, Custer located a Cheyenne encampments trail on November 26. At dawn the 27th, he spearheaded an assault through the village, slaughtering all they encountered. Some were Cheyenne fighters, most were non-combatant women and children. His deputy, Major Joel Elliott, led 20 troopers chasing fleeing Cheyenne, while Custer completed operations in the camp. 103 Cheyenne perished, deemed a magnificent triumph by Custer. Yet Custer's personal aspirations again caused complications. First, they attacked village belonged to a U.S.-friendly Cheyenne leader, rendering Cheyenne peace nearly unattainable. Second, it was merely one settlement among many along the river. News rapidly traveled upstream, compelling Custer's swift retreat. This precipitated a third dilemma. Major Joel Elliott failed to return. With other Cheyenne villages now arming, Custer opted against awaiting him. Elliott and his entire detachment's remains were recovered weeks afterward. Numerous 7th Cavalrymen held Custer accountable for their demise. Captain Frederick Benteen voiced the fiercest condemnation. He penned correspondence faulting Custer for Elliott's fate. The letter reached newspapers, infuriating Custer. Though Benteen remained under his authority, mutual forgiveness never occurred. Custer's Washita success restored his fame. Recast as a Western champion, Custer spent subsequent years leading the 7th Cavalry against indigenous groups. In 1873, he transferred permanently to Fort Abraham Lincoln in Dakota, positioning him nearer to Sitting Bull's anti-American insurgency. Two crucial figures now entered his orbit. First, Major Marcus Reno joined Custer's command as a key subordinate. Reno possessed a volatile temper and severe alcohol dependency. Much like Benteen, he considered Custer unbearable and conceited. Luckily for Custer, he could rely on supportive personnel to offset detractors like Benteen and Reno. His siblings, Tom and Boston, enlisted, alongside his brother-in-law, Lieutenant James Calhoun. Even his wife moved to Fort Abraham Lincoln. Custer's supporters weren't solely white Americans, however. In 1873, a half-Sioux, half-Arikara scout called Bloody Knife was attached to Custer's force, and the pair formed a close bond. Not all Native Americans sided with Sitting Bull. Bloody Knife harbored a personal vendetta against him. He'd encountered Sitting Bull previously, yet consistently faced maltreatment. He bore particular animosity toward Gall, Sitting Bull's chief lieutenant, who tormented Bloody Knife in youth. This childhood feud escalated fatally. Bloody Knife nearly slew Gall in combat, while Gall subsequently murdered Bloody Knife's siblings and offspring in distinct attacks. Custer was the obvious selection to command an 1874 probe into the Black Hills. Ostensibly, it aimed to locate a fort site opposing Sitting Bull. Actually, its prime objectives were discovering Black Hills gold and serving as expansive propaganda to ignite a settler and miner influx. The venture resembled a guided tour more than a military operation. They faced negligible opposition. Custer expended more ammunition hunting alongside his brothers in Bloody Knife than combating indigenous forces. Embedded photographers and journalists circulated accounts and pictures of Custer's thrilling wilderness exploits and the triumphant gold find. Custer's incursion sparked a gold fever. By late 1875, 15,000 white colonists inundated the territory. Formally as independent pioneers, this breached no treaty terms, absolving the U.S. government. Informally, President Ulysses S. Grant wholly endorsed them, awaiting further Lakota violence under Sitting Bull to justify seizing the Black Hills outright. Washington extended one final September 1875 offer to purchase the Black Hills amicably. Sitting Bull's prophecy of American land hunger materialized. The Sioux declined, prompting the president to issue an ultimatum. Any Lakota or Cheyenne not relocated to U.S. reservations by January 1876 would be deemed hostile. Compliance was implausible. The decree arrived only in November 1875, amid deep winter. Even willing individuals risked fatal exposure en route. It constituted blatant injustice. The campaign against Sitting Bull's hostile Indians left Fort Abraham Lincoln on May 17, 1876. Supreme command lay with General Alfred Terry, Custer's ally. Scouts reported Sitting Bull's followers congregated along the Yellowstone River, specifically where four tributaries converged: the Powder, Tongue, Rosebud, and Bighorn. Terry and Custer would advance westward along the Yellowstone from Dakota with the main force. A second column under General John Gibbon would approach from Montana's west, while a third led by General George Crook advanced from Wyoming's south. The objective: block all escape routes. Custer treated it like another light-hearted excursion. Even Terry grew exasperated by Custer's habitual detours to hunt or explore with his kin. Major Reno and Captain Benteen shared this irritation. Reno welcomed temporary relief when Terry dispatched him on a Rosebud River reconnaissance mission, where he successfully detected Sitting Bull's trail. Reno hastened back with intelligence, but Custer branded him craven for not giving chase. With Sitting Bull's path now fresh, arguments were untenable. Terry resolved to fragment his command anew. Reno and Bloody Knife deliberated their next actions. Within the compact Lakota society, fighters likely recognized Bloody Knife alongside Reno. He presented a conspicuous target. Mid-sentence, a bullet pierced Bloody Knife's skull from behind. He perished instantly. His blood and brains splattered across the inebriated commander's face. Bloody Knife's demise crumbled Reno's nerve. He signaled retreat. "Any who wish to flee, follow me." Discipline evaporated as Reno's soldiers stampeded toward the river. Men discarded horses and rifles while clambering through water and scaling steep embankments. Warriors merely lined the opposite bank, slaughtering without mercy. Southeastward on higher ground, Benteen detected the tumult and returned to reconnoiter. As he observed from the summit, Reno clambered uphill with remnants of his force. "For mercy's sake, Benteen, secure your unit and aid us. Half my command is lost." Benteen scowled, demanding, "Where's Custer?" Reno offered no reply. Benteen merely shook his head. He recognized this pattern. "It's Major Elliott's tragedy anew," he lamented, recalling Washita years prior. Convinced Custer had forsaken them again for personal glory. Distant gunfire from Custer's position implied unfolding catastrophe. Benteen received Custer's written plea for reinforcement, yet disregarded it. Instead, he and Reno idled atop the ridge for 2 hours until gunfire ceased. One enraged captain finally scouted ahead. His discovery horrified him. Custer's final movements remained partially obscured. This reconstruction details his last stand. Custer gathered his troops on a rise, later named Calhoun Hill, to assess and await Benteen. His tactic involved seizing hostages to compel surrender, likely his intent again. His plan: ford the Little Bighorn, capture women and children, and coerce Sitting Bull's submission. Execution seemed straightforward. Charge downhill, cross the river. True to form, Custer led the vanguard. Their appearance struck terror. Even Sitting Bull, learning of Custer's northern assault, confessed dread. "We believed ourselves vanquished." But Cheyenne and Lakota fighters lay concealed beyond the riverbank, unleashing volleys. By then, Crazy Horse and warriors had abandoned chasing Reno to confront Custer. Custer had fatally underestimated their strength. The Americans scrambled back uphill. Lieutenant Calhoun's company fortified a knoll now bearing his name. Custer, his brother, and survivors retreated to what became aptly termed Last Stand Hill. Forensic evidence indicated half of Calhoun's troops perished before reaching his hill. Within minutes, Crazy Horse guided mounted warriors to envelop their rear as the main force ascended the slopes. Calhoun's unit was overrun. All perished. As his brother-in-law's position fell, Custer surely realized Benteen wouldn't arrive with reinforcements. Thousands of warriors swarmed the surrounding ridges, engulfing his dwindling command. Custer's final defenders fell beside him, cut down in a tempest of arrows and bullets. Chaos reigned. Some warriors fell to friendly fire. Though the last survivor remains unidentified, Sitting Bull later recounted warriors' testimony. Up where the final struggle occurred, where the last resistance was mounted, the long-haired one stood like a cornstalk amid fallen ears. Custer's stand marked their end. Once gunfire ceased from Custer's position, Benteen and Reno found themselves besieged on Reno Hill. Their 400 men entrenched, repelling attacks through the night of June 25th. Only at dusk on the 26th, when scouts spotted Terry and Gibbon approaching from the north, did Sitting Bull command withdrawal. General Terry arrived soon after. His first query echoed Benteen's. "Where's Custer?" 200 bodies from 5 cavalry companies lay where they fell. Some bore scalping and ritual desecration. Walking the carnage, Benteen was summoned by a private to identify a specific corpse. 2 gunshot wounds, chest and temple. "My God, it's him." On July 6, 1876, news of Custer's catastrophe reached Fort Abraham Lincoln. Within days, the nation knew of Little Bighorn. Days earlier, July 4th, America celebrated its centennial, a moment of optimism, honoring progress made and envisioned, a moment to extol heroes like Custer, then fighting savage primitive Indians. Custer's death defied belief. Americans viewed themselves as invincible agents of civilization. Learning Indians slew a hero and 268 men in open combat stunned the public. Some faulted Custer's folly. His glory-driven recklessness proved fatal. Many blamed Benteen and Reno, who ignored orders and idled while comrades died. Tellingly, few attributed victory to Sitting Bull's forces, twice proven formidable warriors. America's finest had been routed. Sitting Bull stood ready for their next assault. The grass still whispers where Custer fell. On that sun-scorched Montana hill, 268 men died in 60 minutes, not as heroes in a grand charge, but trapped like buffalo in a canyon. Their bodies told the story. Calhoun's company obliterated mid-retreat, Tom Custer mutilated beyond recognition, the general himself slumped beside his brother, 2 bullets in a corpse already stripped of its golden hair. Yet the true shockwave came after. As America hung July 4th bunting, newspapers printed headlines that shattered a nation's myth. Slaughter on the Little Bighorn, savages annihilate Custer. Citizens recoiled. How could Indians, outnumbered, outgunned, butcher their brightest cavalry star? The centennial's champagne turned to ash. 3 haunting questions linger. What did Custer whisper when he saw Crazy Horse's warriors rise like ghosts from the river? Why did Benteen truly hesitate? Was it cowardice or cold vengeance for Major Elliott's abandoned men? And Sitting Bull? Did he smile as the last blue coat fell, knowing this victory would ignite a fire America could never extinguish? The Sioux won the battle, but lost the war. Within 14 years, every free warrior would be dead or imprisoned. Sitting Bull was murdered by U.S. agents in 1890. His vision died at Wounded Knee. Like, subscribe, and share.